You blew my mind with the revelation that Catherine almost rejected the Princess of Wales title, Diana's title.
Meghan introduced Harry at the opening ceremony of the Invictus Games. It started like this.
Hi, everybody. How are you feeling?
Brave.
So I was not planning on speaking tonight, and we just arrived, I don't know, a couple hours ago, and I touched Canadian soil, and I went, oh.
Love is the first and most essential bond, but it's also the invisible thread, woven with time, attention, and tenderness, through consistent, nurturing relationships, which creates the grounded and meaningful environments around a child. It is this texture, the weave of love.
They both married into the same royal family. They were given access to the same palaces, the same titles, the same royal spotlight, and many of the same opportunities. Yet somehow, their paths could not look more different. These are the 12 biggest contrasts between Princess Catherine and Meghan the Migraine Markle, and the gap between their public images is so massive that even NASA would have a hard time measuring it. And whatever you do, don't skip number 8. That's the point where
Well, I suppose she's waiting for the proposal, the moment that will happen when she will be a princess in waiting. But Waity Katie has stuck with her, and it's a nickname that she absolutely despises.
Conversation takes a surprising turn and moves into territory that has people talking even more than before. Number 1, marrying for love versus marrying for the crown. Before diving into everything else, it all comes down to one simple question. Why did you marry him? Princess Catherine waited nearly a decade before marrying Prince William. During those years, cameras followed her everywhere. She could not even grab a coffee without photographers tracking her every move. The British press constantly labelled her Waity Katie, repeating it so often that it practically became a second name. She faced headlines, criticism, and public pressure for years just for standing by the man she loved. Yet through all that attention and scrutiny, she never sold her side of the story and never publicly complained about the situation. Supporters point to that as proof that she was focused on William first and royal status second. Now let's talk about Meghan. In a widely discussed BBC interview, she told viewers that she knew very little about the royal family before meeting Prince Harry. She even suggested that she did not know much about Harry himself before their relationship began.
I didn't know much about him, and so the only thing that I had asked her when she said she wanted to set us up was, I had one question. I said, well, is he nice? Because if he wasn't kind, it didn't seem like it would make sense, and so...
That statement immediately became a major talking point and sparked plenty of debate. Not long afterward, claims and rumours about Meghan's interest in royal life started making headlines. One of the most talked about allegations came from media personalities and commentators who suggested that she had been fascinated by Prince Harry long before they ever met. These claims have been heavily debated, with supporters and critics arguing over what is fact and what is speculation. Critics have pointed to stories suggesting that Meghan had ambitious goals and a clear vision for the future long before entering royal circles. Whether those stories are accurate or not, they have fueled years of discussion about her motivations and intentions. Some royal commentators have even argued that status and prestige played a role in her decision to join the royal family, while others strongly disagree and say there is no way to know her private reasons. Meanwhile, supporters of Princess Catherine often highlight the years she spent dating Prince William before marriage. They argue that she endured intense media attention, public criticism, and constant pressure while remaining committed to the relationship. Number 2, staff who stay versus staff who leave. Now let's talk about how these two women are often described by the people who work around them, because many royal watchers believe that what happens behind the scenes can reveal a lot about a public figure's leadership style. Supporters of Princess Catherine frequently point to the loyalty of her staff and long-time team members. They argue that many people have remained in royal service for years because she is known for treating others with respect, patience, and professionalism.
Which forms a child's emotional world and becomes the foundation, the very fabric of resilience and belonging. Every one of you interacts with your own environment, a home, family, a business, a workforce, a community. These are the ecosystems that you yourselves help to lead.
Princess Catherine has ultimate courtesy, ultimate kindness. That's just who she is behind closed doors. Comments like that have helped build Catherine's reputation as someone who maintains a calm and respectful working environment. Now let's look at Meghan. Over the years, reports about staff departures connected to her household have generated intense discussion and media coverage. Critics have highlighted the number of employees who have moved on from various roles, while supporters argue that staff turnover can happen for many different reasons and does not automatically prove misconduct. Several former team members, communications staff, advisors, and other employees have left their positions, leading to constant speculation in the press. Those departures have fueled debate about management styles, workplace expectations, and life inside high-profile royal and celebrity operations. Depending on who you ask, the story is either evidence of a difficult working environment or simply the reality of working under enormous public pressure and scrutiny. As the criticism grew, some commentators argued that the controversy did not stop with staff departures. One moment that sparked debate came when Meghan spoke publicly about her own experiences with negative media attention and online criticism. Supporters viewed her comments as an honest discussion about the pressures she faced, while critics felt the timing and setting raised questions. The reaction was immediate, and the disagreement over that moment continues to this day. Meanwhile, supporters of Princess Catherine often point to the strong relationships she has built with staff and the public over many years. They highlight stories of long-serving team members and say that her calm, steady approach has helped shape her positive reputation. Whether at official events or behind the scenes, she is frequently described by admirers as someone who remains composed under pressure. Number 3. The People's Princess versus the People's Problem. Now let's talk about public reception, because press statements can shape a story, but public reactions often tell their own tale. Princess Catherine has faced plenty of difficult moments in front of cameras. One frequently discussed example involved a windy public appearance, where conditions were far from ideal. With photographers capturing every second, she continued the engagement with a smile and carried on as though nothing had happened. Supporters say those moments demonstrate confidence, poise, and an ability to stay calm when all eyes are watching.
So it would have been quite a tough idea, but I think she thought, I have to do this to support my husband. It's the right thing. He is now the Prince of Wales.
Absolutely. I cannot imagine that kind of pressure. Every day she walks out of her house, she might be wearing polka dots, and some photographer finds 30 pictures of Diana wearing polka dot, and she's like, I just
Happens all the time.
Now let's talk about Meghan. Her public appearances have often generated strong reactions, both positive and negative. During overseas tours and charity visits, supporters praised her for bringing attention to important causes, while critics questioned whether some appearances focused too heavily on publicity. As a result, Meghan became one of the most talked-about figures in the royal world, with every event sparking fresh headlines and fierce debate. Critics argue that Meghan's public image has faced increasing challenges in recent years. They point to reports of strained relationships, mixed reactions from some local residents, and the intense scrutiny surrounding her business ventures and media projects. Supporters, however, argue that many of these claims are exaggerated by critics and amplified through constant media coverage. Either way, nearly every move she makes seems to generate headlines and debate. One example that drew attention involved a social media video that critics described as overly staged and carefully produced. The clip quickly became a talking point online, with some viewers saying it felt disconnected from everyday life, while others saw nothing unusual about it. The reaction once again showed how sharply divided public opinion has become whenever Meghan is involved in a story.
She walks in, pretends she's interrupted some official TikTok moment, shakes their hand. I'd want to make sure that they washed their hands if there was any. And then she starts like dancing in the corner. To me, it's giving like this desperate attempt to look relatable and real, but it all looks way too orchestrated to be relatable and real.
Princess Catherine, by contrast, is often praised by supporters for her ability to connect with crowds during public appearances. Admirers point to moments where she has remained composed in difficult situations and say her presence tends to generate positive attention wherever she goes. Those supporters argue that her public image is built on consistency, patience, and years of steady engagement. Number 4. Motherhood versus motherhood performance. Now let's talk about parenting, because few topics generate stronger opinions than how public figures handle family life. Supporters of Princess Catherine often praise her efforts to keep Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis largely out of the spotlight outside official royal events. They point to her focus on school routines, family activities, and creating as normal an upbringing as possible under extraordinary circumstances. Even during serious personal health challenges, many observers noted that she repeatedly emphasized the importance of family and her children's well-being. Now let's talk about Meghan. For years, she spoke about the importance of privacy for her family, particularly regarding her children. Critics later questioned that message when family photos and personal moments appeared in media projects, promotional materials, and social media content connected to her various ventures. Supporters counter that parents can choose to share limited glimpses of family life while still maintaining meaningful privacy boundaries. The debate has continued because both women have taken very different approaches to balancing public life and family life. Admirers of Catherine see a strong emphasis on keeping family matters private, while critics of Meghan argue that her public messaging and media strategy have not always appeared fully aligned. Those contrasting approaches have become one of the most discussed differences between the two women. Number 5. Grace versus victimhood. Now let's talk about how these two women respond to adversity, because difficult moments often shape the way the public views a person for years afterward. Princess Catherine faced one of the most serious challenges of her life when she revealed her cancer diagnosis. She underwent major medical treatment and spent months away from public duties while receiving care.
Catherine came from a sort of regular middle class family, didn't have servants, waiting on her. But my sense is that she has treated everybody who worked for her in that way that you were just describing, with the ultimate courtesy, consideration, kindness.
During that period, intense speculation and online commentary surrounded her absence, creating even more public attention at an already difficult time. Supporters frequently point out that she chose to keep most of her struggle private and focused on her recovery rather than engaging in public disputes or lengthy interviews. When Catherine later returned to public events, many observers noted the warm reaction she received. One of the most talked about moments came at Wimbledon, where crowds greeted her with enthusiastic applause. Supporters saw that response as a reflection of the goodwill she has built over many years through her public service and royal work. Now let's talk about Meghan. Throughout her time in the spotlight, she has spoken openly about the challenges of media scrutiny, online criticism, and the pressures that came with life as a royal and public figure. Supporters praise her willingness to discuss difficult experiences, arguing that she has helped bring attention to issues involving mental health, public pressure, and online harassment. Critics, however, argue that she focuses too heavily on personal grievances and frequently returns to the same controversies. This difference in approach has become one of the biggest points of contrast between the two women. Admirers of Catherine often view her as someone who handles hardship quietly, while supporters of Meghan see value in speaking openly about personal struggles. The debate over which approach is more effective continues to divide royal watchers and commentators around the world. Number 6. Speaking with purpose versus speaking for personal praise. Now let's talk about communication, because the way public figures speak can reveal a lot about their priorities, their message, and how they want to be remembered. Princess Catherine has earned praise from supporters for speeches that focus on causes rather than headlines. At events attended by major business leaders, educators, and charity organizations, she has spoken about topics such as early childhood development, relationships, emotional well-being, and the importance of community support. Admirers say her message is often clear, measured, and centered on long-term goals rather than personal attention. One speech in particular attracted significant praise for its emphasis on compassion, connection, and the value of human relationships. Supporters noted that the audience appeared deeply engaged throughout the event and argued that her ability to communicate with sincerity is one of her strongest qualities.
She is a malignant narcissist who cannot get enough of herself while she simultaneously plays the victim. My castle is too small. The queen is mean to me. They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm gonna put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends.
To them, those moments highlight the qualities they expect from a future queen. Now let's talk about Meghan. Her public speaking style has generated a very different reaction. Supporters praise her confidence, personal storytelling, and willingness to speak openly about her experiences. Critics, however, argue that some appearances place too much emphasis on her personal journey rather than the event's primary focus. One frequently discussed example involved her introduction of Prince Harry at the Invictus Games. While supporters viewed the remarks as warm and personal, critics felt the speech focused too heavily on family stories and personal anecdotes. The differing reactions once again showed how divided public opinion remains whenever Meghan takes the stage. Catherine's supporters often describe her speaking style as understated and purpose-driven, while Meghan's critics describe hers as highly polished and carefully crafted. Those contrasting styles have become another major point of comparison between the two women. Number 7. Fashion versus a fashion controversy. Now let's talk about style, because fashion has become one of the most visible ways both women communicate their public image. Princess Catherine has frequently been recognized for her fashion choices and has appeared on numerous best-dressed lists. Supporters often praise her for re-wearing outfits, supporting British designers, coordinating family appearances thoughtfully, and presenting a polished but accessible image. Admirers argue that she uses fashion to complement her public role rather than dominate the conversation, helping her maintain a reputation for elegance and consistency. Now let's talk about Meghan. Her relationship with the fashion world has often generated debate and strong opinions from both supporters and critics. Meghan has spoken in interviews about interest in her style choices and the attention they receive, but reactions to her fashion have remained mixed.
Meghan didn't understand the courtesy, that she didn't understand just the overly appreciative and being kind. She was like, they're your employee, talk to them this way.
Some people praise her modern and California-inspired approach, while others argue that certain looks have missed the mark or failed to connect with the public. Critics frequently point to outfits they felt appeared oversized, heavily styled, or poorly tailored. Fashion commentary surrounding Meghan has often become a story of its own, with every appearance generating detailed discussion across magazines, social media, and royal watcher circles. Supporters, however, argue that fashion is highly subjective and that her willingness to experiment with different styles is part of what keeps people talking. Another area of discussion has been the comparisons between Meghan and Princess Diana. Over the years, observers have noted similarities in certain fashion choices, poses, accessories, and public appearances. Critics argue that these similarities are intentional, while supporters say comparisons are inevitable given Meghan's position within the royal family and the public's enduring fascination with Diana's legacy. Princess Catherine's supporters often praise her for developing a distinct style identity that feels uniquely her own. They point to her consistency, elegance, and ability to influence fashion trends without appearing overly focused on fashion itself.
Princess Beatrice has told friends, allegedly, that she overheard Meghan Markle tell Prince Harry at the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, while Meghan Markle was doing yoga that morning. Along with her, that's her routine, that Princess Diana spoke to her and let her know that Diana was glad that her and Harry had chosen to attend the events along with his family.
Those qualities have helped cement her reputation as one of the most closely watched royal-style figures in the world. Number 8. Honoring Diana versus Diana comparisons. Now let's talk about Diana, because few figures in royal history continue to inspire as much attention and admiration. Supporters of Princess Catherine often argue that she has honored Diana's legacy through years of public service, charitable work, and dedication to royal duties. They point to her steady approach and say she has built her own reputation rather than relying on constant comparisons to William's mother. Admirers believe she has embraced her role while maintaining respect for the legacy that came before her, creating a path that is distinctly her own. Now let's talk about Meghan. Comparisons between her and Princess Diana have followed her for years.
Exactly the same thing that happened in the UK in terms of this monumentally high turnover of staff has now been directly repeated in Hollywood
And remain one of the most debated topics in royal coverage. Critics point to similarities in certain outfits, public appearances, and media moments, arguing that the connections are sometimes emphasized too heavily. Supporters counter that comparisons to Diana were inevitable from the moment Meghan joined the royal family and married Diana's son. Another point of controversy involves claims that Meghan has referenced Diana's influence in personal stories and interviews. To supporters, those references reflect the important role Diana's memory plays within the family. Critics, however, argue that some of these moments have appeared overly public or have drawn attention away from Diana's legacy itself. As with many topics involving Meghan, reactions remain sharply divided. One particularly discussed example involved the timing of product launches and promotional campaigns. Critics questioned whether certain dates and publicity choices were appropriate, while supporters argued that reading deeper meaning into every business decision is unfair. The disagreement once again highlights how closely Meghan's actions are scrutinized compared with most public figures. Supporters of Princess Catherine often take a different view. They argue that Catherine has chosen to honor Diana primarily through charitable work, public service, and a steady commitment to royal duties. Admirers say she rarely centers discussions around Diana and instead focuses on building her own record of service while showing respect for the late princess's legacy. Number 9. Loyalty versus betrayal. Now let's talk about loyalty, because major family disagreements often reveal very different perspectives about duty, responsibility, and personal relationships. Princess Catherine's supporters frequently praise her for remaining a steady presence during difficult periods for the royal family.
Have to discuss is a trend and a theme that we've talked about a lot on this show and on social media, and that is Meghan Markle basically hawking these kids on social media because she can't generate press or PR on her own, and she continues to post these videos of Lilibet. First off, I can't stand that she named her Lilibet. You did not respect the Queen. The Queen is no longer here, and now this little girl who's never stepped foot in the UK, to my knowledge, has the name Lilibet. But on June 23rd, the Duchess of Sussex, 43 years old, she posted a video promoting her new brand, using her 4-year-old daughter as a cameo in order to get press and attention.
Through public controversies, health challenges, and periods of intense media scrutiny, they point to her consistent support of Prince William and her commitment to her role. Admirers argue that she has approached challenges with patience and discretion rather than responding publicly to every headline. Now let's talk about Meghan. The breakdown in relations between Prince Harry and the royal family became one of the biggest royal stories in modern history. Critics have argued that Meghan played a significant role in encouraging Harry to distance himself from royal life, while supporters strongly reject that characterization and maintain that Harry made his own decisions about his future. Books, documentaries, interviews, and media projects discussing those events have fueled years of debate. Critics view some of those projects as public disclosures of private family matters, while supporters argue they provided Harry and Meghan with an opportunity to share their perspective. The result has been an ongoing disagreement about loyalty, privacy, and where the line should be drawn when personal family conflicts become global news. Number 10. Earning the crown versus chasing the spotlight. Now let's talk about ambition, because supporters and critics often see a huge difference between these two women when it comes to how they approach their public roles. Princess Catherine's supporters argue that she has spent years building trust through patience, consistency, and service. They point out that she never rushed into royal life and instead gradually took on more responsibilities over time. Admirers say she has focused on supporting Prince William, representing the monarchy, and carrying out public duties without constantly drawing attention back to herself. To them, her approach has always been about the role rather than personal promotion. Supporters also argue that Catherine has accepted the responsibilities that come with her position while avoiding unnecessary drama. Over the years, she has become one of the most popular members of the royal family, and many observers believe that reputation comes from years of steady work rather than headline-grabbing moments. They see her as someone who understands the institution and has grown naturally into her future role. Now let's talk about Meghan. Critics often argue that she places greater emphasis on personal projects, media ventures, and brand-building opportunities. They point to business launches, interviews, documentaries, and public appearances as evidence of a very different strategy from Catherine's. Supporters, however, argue that Meghan has simply chosen a different path, one focused on independence rather than traditional royal expectations. The contrast between the two approaches has fueled endless debate among royal watchers.
Feels like home.
And it didn't get any better.
I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to introduce someone who means a lot to me. And I know means quite a lot to all of you. You will see him throughout this week. You will see him at the games. You will see him probably curling with you, cheering you on. And
Admirers of Catherine view her as someone focused on duty and long-term service, while critics of Meghan argue that public recognition and personal influence play a larger role in her decisions. Regardless of where people stand, the comparison continues to generate headlines and passionate discussion. Number 11. Work ethic versus results under scrutiny. Now let's talk about work ethic, because supporters of both women often point to very different definitions of success, commitment, and public service. Princess Catherine's supporters frequently highlight her return to public duties following her cancer treatment. They point out that after spending significant time focused on her health and recovery, she gradually resumed royal engagements and charitable work without making herself the center of the story. Admirers argue that her focus remained on carrying out responsibilities rather than constantly discussing her personal challenges. To them, that quiet approach reflects dedication, resilience, and a strong sense of duty. Now let's talk about Meghan. After stepping away from royal life, she and Prince Harry launched a variety of media and business projects aimed at building an independent future. Those ventures included documentaries, podcasts, lifestyle content, and commercial partnerships. Supporters view these projects as examples of entrepreneurship and creative freedom, while critics argue that some ideas have felt disconnected from the everyday experiences of ordinary people. Several lifestyle-focused projects, in particular, sparked debate online. Critics questioned whether some of the content felt practical or relatable, while supporters argued that lifestyle programming has always been designed as entertainment and inspiration rather than a guide to daily life. As with many things involving Meghan, reactions ranged from enthusiastic praise to sharp criticism. For supporters of Catherine, the contrast is simple. They see a woman who returned to public service after a serious health battle and immediately focused on her responsibilities.
Princess Catherine, of course, after 2 years now of recovery following her shock cancer diagnosis, Princess Catherine is reportedly focusing on 2 major goals as she looks ahead to 2026 and beyond. What can we expect this year?
So, understandably, she's been battling cancer for 2 years and she's now in remission. She's back to full-time royal duties, which has been great to see. But I think her 2 goals of staying healthy and being ready, it really shows that the weight of the monarchy in the future is as much on her shoulders, I think, as it is on William's shoulders. I think by the time he ascends to the throne, we'll be totally used to Catherine in public doing the royal functions.
Critics of Meghan, meanwhile, argue that her post-royal projects have often generated more discussion than lasting impact. That difference has become another major talking point in the ongoing comparison between the 2 women. Number 12. Legacy versus controversy. Now let's talk about legacy, because when the headlines fade and the cameras move on, people are often remembered for how they handled the most difficult chapters of their lives. Princess Catherine faced intense speculation and online commentary during the period when she was away from public duties. Rumors spread across social media, and many commentators made assumptions about her situation without knowing the facts. When she later revealed the health challenges she had been facing, public reactions shifted dramatically. Many people who had previously joined the speculation expressed regret, while others praised the dignity and restraint she showed throughout the ordeal. Supporters argue that this moment strengthened Catherine's reputation more than any speech, interview, or public appearance ever could. They see it as evidence of the patience, composure, and determination that have come to define her public image over the years. Supporters of Princess Catherine argue that her reputation has grown steadily through years of public service, charitable work, and her ability to navigate intense public scrutiny. They believe she has earned widespread respect through consistency, resilience, and a commitment to her role. For many admirers, her handling of difficult personal challenges only strengthened that perception and further cemented her place as one of the most popular members of the royal family. Now let's talk about Meghan. Critics often point to the Oprah interview as one of the most controversial moments of her public life. Several claims made during that conversation were heavily debated in the media, with journalists, commentators, and royal experts examining different aspects of the interview for months afterward. Supporters of Meghan argue that she was sharing her personal experiences, while critics believe some of the statements raised serious questions about accuracy and fairness. The disagreement remains one of the most divisive topics in modern royal history. Critics also argue that Meghan's various media, entertainment, and business projects have struggled to match the level of attention they initially received. Supporters counter that building an independent career outside the royal family was always going to be challenging, and that success should be measured over the long term rather than through individual projects alone. And there you have it, 12 major comparisons that continue to fuel debate among royal watchers around the world. Now it's your turn. Which of these moments surprised you the most? Was it the discussion about staff departures, the public reception, the different approaches to family life, or something else entirely? Let me know what stood out to you the most. Maybe it was the debate over products connected to her children's public profiles, or perhaps it was the controversy surrounding the timing of her rosé wine launch on Princess Diana's birthday. Either way, there has been no shortage of headline-making moments throughout this story. Drop your answer in the comments below because I read every single one. Which comparison stood out to you the most, and why? And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next video. This story continues to spark discussion, and there is always more to unpack. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay tuned, stay safe, and stay informed.